PC VR is dead. Something that we hear a lot, but is it actually true? Personally, I don't think so. Not yet anyway. I want to show why PC VR is still very much alive, but even more than that, I want to try and show to developers why they should still want to release their VR games for the PC VR platform. First, let's address the fact that people insist that PC isn't getting any good VR games, and developers are focused on the Quest. For some developers this is true, but not all developers have dismissed PC VR, and in fact, we're still getting good VR games released on PC that aren't available on the Quest. This year alone, we've had Vertigo 2, Firmament, Undead Citadel, Crossfire Sierra Squad, F123, VR support for BeamNG, as well as upcoming games, including the WRC game, a VR port for Madison, and Gunman Contracts, a full game based on the excellent Half-Life Alyx mods. These games are all PC only or PC and PSVR 2 releases, with no Quest version available. Vertigo 2 is one of the best VR games available right now, with a full-length, 15-hour plus campaign, excellent VR guns, and gameplay mechanics. It might not look massively impressive, but it's excellent overall, and it's going to be getting a PSVR version too. Firmament is a non-VR game with VR support, made by the developers of Myst, and it's a really beautiful game visually. Games like F123 and WRC are cockpit racing games that are a perfect fit for VR, and after years of not supporting VR, we're finally seeing Codemasters and EA openly supporting VR on PC without the funding of someone like Oculus. Now we just need them to support PSVR 2 as well. Kayak Mirage VR is a kayaking game with photorealistic graphics, which launched on PC last year and on PSVR 2 this year. I haven't got any exact sales numbers, but it sold okay on PC and was a bestseller near the top of the PSVR 2 sales charts on release. The developer have said that they were very happy with the game's sales, and it does show that now with the PSVR 2 market, there is a place for developers to make games that simply can't run on the Quest and still get enough sales to make money. I just mentioned Gunman Contracts, and hopefully I'll make a full video on this game soon, but this is taking the same concept from the Half-Life 2 Alyx mods, where you've got a very low time to kill, but quick-witted enemies. You're breaching rooms and clearing out enemies John Wick style, and the developer is now making a full game in Unity, which gives them the freedom to include two-handed weapons, bullet penetration and melee. Bootstrap Island is a new upcoming PC VR game where you're stranded on a desert island and you have to survive for as long as possible, and it's got some great high-end visuals made in Unreal Engine and some great VR gameplay mechanics. After speaking to the developer, they said that they didn't want to make a game for the Quest because it was too limiting, and they still believe that there's a big enough market to support higher fidelity, high quality VR games on PC and PSVR 2, and personally I agree with that. Let's have a look at some numbers. I don't have access to game sales, but one way we can compare PC and Quest sales is from the number of reviews. It's not a perfect metric, but it gives us some understanding of how certain game sales are split between the two platforms. I also know from speaking to some people inside the industry that for every 100 reviews, this equates to about 3,000 to 4,000 sales. So we can use that data to extrapolate some rough revenue figures, but obviously this is going to vary from game to game. Hubris VR is a game that launched on PC first and boasts some of the best graphics on a made-for-VR game. The game itself is okay, but I still found it enjoyable, and on PC it's got 460 reviews. It launched on PSVR 2 and Quest this year, and the developers did a great job with the Quest version maintaining a lot of those visuals from the PC. Unfortunately, it's not sold very well on the Quest, with only 226 reviews, so the PC sales are actually around double of the Quest. We don't have any PSVR 2 numbers, but it shows that just because you launched your game on the Quest, it isn't guaranteed to get high sales numbers, so excluding the other platforms in favour of the Quest isn't always the best idea. Walkabout Mini Golf is an excellent mini golf VR game that's got a low poly aesthetic, but it still looks great. It's clearly built for the Quest, and these sort of games do sell well on the Quest, with over 10,000 Quest reviews. But despite this, the game still sold well on PC with over 2,000 reviews, so the majority of the sales are on the Quest platform at around 80%, but the PC sales are still significant, and they're certainly worth the developers' time and effort making a PC version of the game. Demio is a D&D style multiplayer tabletop game, and it's got 6,000 reviews on Quest and 10,000 PC reviews. So it's again around 80% of the sales on Quest, but still a significant amount on PC. Bone Lab simultaneously launched on PC and Quest, and it's got 19,000 Quest reviews with 11,000 on PC. This is obviously still higher on the Quest side, but that's around a 65 to 35% split, which isn't quite as one-sided, and again, it's still a significant amount of sales on the PC. These are obviously some of the bigger games that have sold well regardless of platform, but what about those smaller games that haven't had those big numbers? The Last Clockwinder is a great puzzle VR game which has got 742 Quest reviews and 448 on PC. These numbers aren't huge, so every extra sale a developer can get is going to make a difference, especially when your game's more niche like a puzzle game. And the PC version still accounts for around 40%, so you're much closer to a 50-50 split. Now imagine if the developer decided not to bother with a PC, as some developers are. They would have lost out on almost doubling the sales from releasing on Quest only. If we use that data I mentioned earlier, the game sells at $25 and it's got 448 reviews on PC. That equates to about 13,400 to 18,000 sales. Obviously this doesn't account for store fees and any sales the game had, but let's say the average price sold is $20, that's about $270,000 to $360,000 revenue, and that's just from PC. So again, imagine you're a small developer releasing a game only on the Quest, and you end up missing out on literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. I've got a bunch more data to back this up, which I'll run through now a little bit more quickly. Blair Witch VR has 336 reviews on Quest and 146 on PC, which is a 70-30 split. This was around 110,000 to 150,000 revenue for PC alone. Green Hell VR has got 2,900 reviews on Quest and 770 on PC, which again is about an 80-20 split, which will have made around 360,000 to 610,000 in revenue on PC. Layers of Fear VR has 330 on Quest and 225 on PC, so it's much closer to a 50-50 split and around 100,000 to 135,000 in PC revenue. I think the interesting thing about these three is that they're all ports of existing non-VR games, and it shows that it's definitely worth porting your games to VR, especially when you consider that this doesn't include PSVR 2 sales and Quest sales, if you can get it running on that platform. You can relaunch a game that you've already made with a different version to a new market and generate hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional revenue, and in cases like Green Hell VR, well over $1 million. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, a game that was PC exclusive first, then got a Quest port after, has got 3,400 reviews on Quest and 2,000 on PC, which is a 60-40 split. I do believe that this game could have sold much better if it was a better game overall, especially with how they structured the first part of the game, because it got a lot of negativity on launch which killed its sales. The Room VR, A Dark Matter, was a massive hit on the Quest, with 12,000 reviews. It only had 3,000 on PC, which again, still a substantial number which does make a difference. After the Fall has 2,900 on Quest and 2,000 on PC and a 60-40 split. Ghosts of Tabor, a recent game that launched on both platforms, has 5,000 on Quest and 3,500 on PC, which is a 60-40 split. Zenith, The Last City, has 6,700 on Quest and 3,300 on PC, which is a 67-33 split. Breachers, another recent game released on both platforms, has 2,400 on Quest and 800 on PC, which is a 75-25 split. Even just looking at the worst case scenarios, where they're getting about 20% of sales on PC compared to Quest, developers can still generate a significant amount of additional revenue by releasing the game on PC platform. Obviously this doesn't mean that every game released on PC will get enough revenue, but as a developer you have to ask if it's worth the risk to potentially miss out on tens of thousands, and in many cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. I also believe that making a PC version of your game isn't just about the extra sales the PC platform can bring. It's also a great marketing tool, because you can make a prettier, higher quality version of your game which will look significantly better for trailers and general gameplay footage. I know making higher quality versions of the same models, textures, is more work, but even just adding some nicer lighting with dynamic shadows, ambient occlusion, and some higher quality post-processing effects can make a huge difference. Most content creators like to record games on PC. This is because it's easier to record better quality videos and you've got more control. Recording stuff on the Quest can be a pain, and like I mentioned before, the PC version will look better, which makes the game more attractive to potential buyers, which obviously equates to more sales, not just on PC, but other platforms the game is available on. I think the developers should look at PC versions of the game as part of the marketing, so even if you only end up getting your money back for the extra time it took to make a PC VR version, the extra sales it will generate on other platforms will have made up for it. There seems to be a trend within the VR gaming industry of developers being told by other developers not to bother releasing the games on PC, and I do wonder who's actually saying this and what data they have to back this up. It's possible that they released the game on PC and it didn't sell well, so now they've got a tainted view of it and are potentially damaging other developers who will end up losing out on a lot of additional revenue by not releasing the game on PC. Another thing that I want to talk about before I end this video is how a developer launches a game. By this, I mean whether a developer staggers a launch, so they'll launch it, for example, on the Quest, PC, and then later on PSVR 2, or release the game on all versions at the same time. Unfortunately, I don't have any data to back this up, because it's pretty much impossible to really show this, but in my opinion, launching on all platforms at once is better from a marketing standpoint over staggering your launch. I understand why developers do it. They need to get the game released so they can start bringing in money to help cover the development costs. And having to deal with 3 different branches of the game at once, dealing with potential bug fixes and patches, makes things more complex, especially for a small studio. But I think there are good reasons why it would be better in the long run to launch the game all at once. The main reason being from a marketing perspective. If you stagger a release over 3 platforms, months apart, then each time you release the game on a new platform, you've got to market the game all over again. This is very difficult to do, and I've seen many times a big build up to the initial release on, say, the Quest platform, and then the game kind of just gets thrown out on PC and then later on PSVR 2 without much fanfare. Speaking as a consumer, I can say that when a game first comes out, it's exciting. It's a new game, and if it's something I'm interested in, releasing on PC, I'll usually buy it on initial launch at full price. When a game launches staggered, it no longer feels like a new game when it comes to the platform of my choice. Psychologically, you're not as interested in the game because it already feels like an older game, and unless it's something that you really want to play, I'm okay waiting to play it later, potentially on a sale, and sometimes I just forget about the game exists completely. Developers have to market the games. If you just release it, maybe just put a couple of posts on Reddit, then you're always going to struggle to get any good sales. A game needs to be marketed and built up towards launch, which takes time and costs money. So doesn't it make more sense to put all that effort, time and money into marketing your game to a much larger audience by releasing it on all platforms together, rather than just choosing one, then trying to get people to care about a launch on a different platform later down the line? You've also got to look at content creators. There's no getting around the fact that a lot of people buy games based on recommendations from their favourite YouTubers, and generally, a content creator will only cover a game once when it first releases. It's only those rare exceptions of games that are higher profile get new videos showcasing them for a second and third time. I personally believe that developers would generate more sales across all the major platforms if they release their game at the same time rather than a staggered launch. So whilst it may delay the game by a few weeks or even months, I think it'll be worth it for the extra sales that you generate from the marketing you get from releasing a new game all at once. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think developers should stop releasing games on PC? And I'd love to hear from developers themselves on their experience on PC and any developers who have decided to exclude PC VR. I'd love to know why they decided to do that and what sort of research they did to make that business decision. As always, a massive thanks to my Patreon and YouTube members. Your support makes these videos possible.